I only checked the security camera because I thought someone was stealing my packages. I didn't expect to see myself standing in my living room while I was at work. I moved into that apartment in late October. It was nothing special. Second floor, old building, thin walls. But it was cheap, close to my job, and honestly, I liked how quiet it was. Too quiet, maybe. I worked night shifts at a small warehouse about 20 minutes away, loading trucks, scanning boxes, nothing exciting. I'd leave around 9 p.m. and get back around 6 in the morning. The first week was normal. I slept during the day, worked at night, repeated. The only weird thing was how often my neighbors complained about missing deliveries, packages just disappearing. One afternoon, I came home and found my own package missing. It had been marked as delivered that morning. That annoyed me enough to do something about it. So I bought a cheap, indoor security camera. Nothing fancy, just something I could check from my phone. I set it up in the living room, pointing at the front door and the small hallway that led to the bedroom and bathroom. The first night I used it, nothing happened. Same the next. Then on the third night, around 2:17 a.m., I got a motion alert. I remember because I was on my break, sitting in my car eating a cold sandwich. I opened the app, expecting to see maybe a glitch or headlights passing by the window. But the camera wasn't glitching. It was recording. My living room looked normal at first. Dark, empty. Then I saw movement. From the hallway. Something stepped out slowly, like it was trying to not make noise. It took me a second to understand what I was looking at. It was me. Same clothes I wore at home, same posture, same face. Just standing there. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to make sense. But it didn't. Because I was sitting in my car, 20 minutes away. I even looked down at myself. Same jacket, same hands. The version of me on the camera turned its head slightly, like it heard something. Then it walked toward the front door. Slow, calm, like it belonged there. And then the feed cut out. I drove home right after my shift ended, faster than usual. My hands were shaking the whole way. When I got there, everything looked normal. Door locked, no signs of forced entry. Inside, nothing was missing, nothing out of place. I checked the camera history again. The clip was still there. I watched it 3 more times. Every detail matched me perfectly. But something felt off. The way it moved, slightly slower than I would, more careful, like it was pretending to be me. I barely slept that day. That night, before leaving for work, I checked every corner of the apartment. Closets, under the bed, bathroom, nothing. Still, I felt stupid for being scared. There had to be a logical explanation. Maybe someone who looked like me, maybe the camera glitched, maybe I was just tired. So I went to work again, and I left the camera running. At 1:43 a.m., another alert. This time, I didn't open it right away. I just sat there for a second, staring at my phone. Then I tapped the notification. The feed loaded. Empty room. Then movement. Again from the hallway. But this time, it wasn't me. It was someone else. A man. Tall, thin, wearing something dark. His face was hard to see, but I could tell he was smiling. Not a normal smile. Too wide. He walked into the living room and looked directly at the camera, like he knew I was watching. Then he did something that made my stomach drop. He raised his hand and waved, slowly, casually, like he was saying, "Hello." I called the police, told them someone was inside my apartment. They said they'd send a unit. But when they got there, they found nothing. No broken locks, no forced entry. Same as before. One of the officers even suggested maybe I'd imagined it, or that someone had access to my camera. "Change your passwords," he said. "Maybe it's just a hack." That explanation stuck with me. It made more sense than anything else. So I reset everything. New passwords, new email, even reset the camera. For a few days, nothing happened. No alerts, no strange footage. I started to relax again. Until the messages started. The first one came through the camera app. Just a notification. Motion detected. But when I opened it, there was no video, just a black screen. And a message. "You left too early." I froze. I checked the time. 3:12 a.m. I was at work, alone in the back of the warehouse. No one near me. I closed the app, told myself it was a glitch. Then another notification came. I didn't want to open it, but I did. This time, the camera was on. My living room again. Empty. At first. Then I saw it. Something written on the wall. Behind where I usually sit. Big, dark letters. "I like your place." I left work immediately. Didn't even tell my manager. Just got in my car and drove. When I got home, the message was gone. The wall was clean, like nothing had ever been there. I checked the camera history again. The clip was still saved. Clear as day. The writing was real. That's when I started to notice the small things. My chair slightly moved. A glass in the sink I didn't remember using. The bathroom light left on. Tiny details. Easy to ignore, but impossible to explain. The last night I stayed there, everything changed. I didn't go to work. I told them I was sick. I stayed in the apartment, sat on the couch, watching the camera in front of me, watching it live. For hours, nothing happened, just silence. Then, around 2 a.m., the camera moved, just slightly, like someone had touched it. But I was sitting right there, no one else in the room. I slowly turned my head toward the hallway. It was dark, completely dark. Then I heard it, a soft sound, like a footstep, from the hallway. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just listened. Another step, closer. Then a whisper, right behind me. Not from the hallway, from inside the room. "Don't turn around." I turned anyway. Nothing. The room was empty. But the camera showed something else. On my phone screen, I could see myself sitting on the couch, and behind me, someone standing, right where I had just heard the whisper. Tall, smiling, watching me. I didn't stay. I grabbed my keys and left everything else. Clothes, laptop, everything. I never went back. A week later, I checked the camera one last time. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted proof that it was over. The feed still worked, even though I wasn't there. The apartment looked empty, quiet. Then, after a few seconds, movement. The same man stepped into view. He walked up close to the camera, closer than before. So close I could finally see his face clearly. And that's when I realized it wasn't a stranger. It was me.